to make it back with that ankle. So their starting safeties are down, and this defense, which leads virtually every statistical category in the league, will have to play against a red-hot offense with a different look at safety.
Yeah, not what you'd want in a game like this, going against the wide receivers, a quarterback that's making every throw, making it look easy, missing some key safety players, but they did it last week, Jim, so they got some experience. These backup guys, they should play better in this game here today.
Yeah, you saw Marcus Wheaton. This has been just a ridiculous stretch over the last 5 weeks. This offense, which has scored in 17 straight quarters. Again, 5 consecutive games with 30 points plus. And they've already got some words exchanged before we can even get to the first snap. And again, Pittsburgh last week, they had a whole lot of heated exchanges going on with Cincinnati before that one began.
Yeah, well, that worked for them last week. Maybe that's why they did it again this week. I've seen that a lot, or quite a bit today, in the games around the NFL, and it's important for the officials. Take control of the game right from the start and stop this little squabbling and pushing around by the players.
And Roethlisberger will come out with both Heath Miller and Matt Spate, double tight end set. D'Angelo Williams, what a find he's been, signed as a free agent. I don't think anyone knew that at 32 years old he would have this kind of season. Here's Roethlisberger's first pass, a completion over to Bryant for about 6. Brought down immediately by Talib. Alejandro Villanueva. He is some story. The left tackle who had to come in for Kelvin Beachum about 8 weeks ago when Beachum was IR'd. Antonio Brown already with a 100-catch season. Bottom of the screen, you've got Harris on Antonio Brown. Pass is batted down. That was deflected by Derek Wolfe, who's been on a good roll of his own here lately. We've got an update. A lot of things happening at this hour. Let's go over to New York.
All right, back to Jim Nance.
That was an amazing comeback attempt by the Giants. Thank you, fellas. 28 down, only to see Cam Newton engineer a winning drive there, and Green Bay clinches a berth with the Giants' loss. Here's the 3rd and 4 play, and Wheaton has the grab, and he's down. Although they don't mark him down, they give him the extra 5 or 6 yards. And a gain of 12.
Well, a couple of things you want to do. Stack the receivers so you can try to get a little separation against defensive backs. But you know what you're going to get, Jim. When you play the Denver Broncos, you're going to get a lot of man-to-man coverage. You're going to see a lot of blitz. So the Steelers, the wide receivers, they're going to have to win a lot of those battles outside.
Looked like that right elbow might have been down, but I don't know if it's worth a challenge this early for 5 or 6 yards. So it looks like the Broncos are going to let it go. Williams, nice little cut over to the edge, and he's got a gain of 4. Again, Denver, the #1 defense, total defense, fewest points allowed. Wolf's already made a play here. He's had 3 sacks the last 4 weeks. Von Miller with 10 sacks on the season. This is the top sack team in the league with 44. Chris Harris hasn't allowed a touchdown in almost 2 years. And the big story, though, in the secondary involves the substitute safeties today, with Bush and KO getting a start for Stewart and Ward. 2nd and 6. Roethlisberger's pass pulled down by Williams, but ridden down by Trevathan. Gain of 2.
Well, we got some good matchups when you watch this game today. Aqib Talib is going to go against Martavis Bryant, and Chris Harris going to shadow Antonio Brown wherever he goes. So 2 high-caliber defensive backs against one of the best duo receiver tandems in the NFL.
This defense that last week, a shocking loss it was to Oakland, gave up only 129 for the game and lost. That included -12 total yards by the Raiders in the first half. Here's a 3rd and 4 play, and well defended by Trevathan.
Well, you know, Jim, what you see right away from the Pittsburgh Steelers, going to play it safe, get rid of the football quick. And that time you saw coming around the corner was Bruton on the blitz. unblocked. But you want to test out your pass protection. That's why Ben Roethlisberger, Todd Haley, every pass was catch it and get rid of it.
The former Steeler, Emmanuel Sanders, waiting for the punt from Barry. He muffed one last week. It was a costly turnover in that defeat. 38-yard punt by Jordan Berry. Now a flag comes out at about the Denver 35-yard line.
During the kick, holding, receiving team number 36. Half the distance to the goal. First down, timeout.
All right, Carl Cheffers and his crew here as they step it up against the Broncos. Tough starting point coming up for Osweiler. If the Broncos win today, they'll clinch the AFC West. And a Bronco victory would also give the Bengals the AFC North Division title. That would be just to get a playoff berth for Denver. It would not clinch the division. Let me correct that. Denver would clinch a playoff berth if it wins here today. But Cincinnati would be the beneficiary of a loss to the Steelers and would give them their division, the AFC North. And Peyton Manning's going to be on the sideline today after coming back to practice this week, Phil.
Well, he's got the coach look down, cover your mouth and everything you say, so nobody can read your lips.
Ball is out, a fumble by Hillman, and it's recovered by Mike Mitchell.
I think Will Allen is the guy that knocked it out. And it's Pittsburgh defense. It gives up a lot of passing yards, but they have good athletes, great speed, and a good job that time. You saw it. Will Allen gets off the block from Sanders and takes the football away.
Yeah, look at Will Allen strip it. And on just the second play for the Broncos, they cough it up. Everything you don't want to do when you go into an environment like Heinz Field. And plus you got the penalty off the special teams, backs you inside the 10. And then you give the football away that quickly.
Then you get the running play to get you the first down and you give it up. A lot of pressure been put on this Denver's defense the last few weeks. They come through almost every time, though.
Roethlisberger just dumps it over the top. Breaking a tackle was Williams. He's to the 10, to the 5, and he hurdles down to the 2. This time, Trevathan couldn't bring him down like he did on the first series. Williams broke his tackle and took it for 19.
They have great speed at linebacker. Trevathan can really run, and when you play the Steelers, everybody that's eligible can be in a screen play. They throw them to the wide receivers. They use it to Heath Miller, the tight end, and both running backs or whoever's in there can get a screen thrown to him. They're very good at it. The offensive linemen athletic enough to get out and make blocks in space.
First and goal to go for the Steelers. It's Williams. He finds a little opening and he's got the touchdown.
You know, one of the big stories for this Steelers team this year, I think, is how the offensive line has played. And they've done it with their pass protection and their run blocking. That time, Cody Wallace gets a good push inside, and that's going to get some really stout, excellent defensive linemen. And then when you talk about D'Angelo Williams, Jim, he's almost like the perfect match running back. Wide receivers down the field, power running game. It's a good match.
That's his 9th touchdown carry of the season. Hillman grimacing as he takes a look, I assume, at the play where he fumbled it, set it all up. Extra point is good by Boswell. D'Angelo Williams had been fighting the flu all week long. Hillman's mistake, Mitchell's recovery led to Williams crossing the end zone. Aerial coverage of today's game is provided by MetLife. Steel City rejoicing off this start. Touchdown on the board. Now Bay at the 15. Brock Osweiler. This is his 5th consecutive start. Coming off his first loss after 3 wins. But this offense, Phil, it has gone stagnant. It has now, with that first possession, as you look at the line, Schofield was manhandled last week by Mack of the Raiders. 5 sacks by Mack. Sanders in his return to Pittsburgh. This offense, with that first series ending in a quick turnover, has gone 24 straight possessions without a touchdown. Play action, stepping up, and wide of the mark, looking for Demaryius Thomas. This pass defense of the Steelers has been vulnerable this year. Tuitt had that pick last week of Dalton, one that Dalton broke his thumb trying to make the tackle. Boats starts ahead of Bud Dupree. William Gay had a pick 6 against the Bengals last week. His last 5 interceptions have all been returned for touchdowns. 6 linemen in for the Broncos. Osweiler looking to throw again. This time a connection. Blake was covering Sanders, who makes the grab.
Well, the one thing we see a lot of with Brock Osweiler at quarterback, play action passes that send receivers deep down the field. How about that? You got to figure Emmanuel Sanders is going deep once he gets to about 16 or 17 yards. And nope, he puts the brakes on. Osweiler, good timing, throws it in there.
That's a gain of 19. 3rd straight pass play. Osweiler, open man, and it's another grab by Sanders in front of William Gay for 11.
We'll say this about Brock Osweiler as we've watched him play in these 4 starts, and we talked to him this week. I said, how are you feeling? Because he is taking a lot of big hits when you watch these games. But he stands in there, taking those hits, has thrown the ball well under pressure, and Gary Kubiak thinks he's, hey, a lot of tough spots, thinks he's played pretty well.
Here's a handoff, and it's Hillman for 3. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play and score, every game, and every highlight right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now at cbssports.com/mobile.
So the first thing I asked Brock Osweiler, how you feeling? And what did he say, Jim?
John Elway just asked me the same question.
Yeah, he goes, man, he goes, I feel great. Like I haven't taken a hit all year. So excitement about playing, being young, taking the punishment well.
2nd and 7, and Hillman crosses the 50 and takes it down to the Pittsburgh 47, which will set up 3rd and 2. And of course, Denver raced out to a 7-0 start. They've split their last 6 games. Point production down. The big thing here, turnover differential.
Well, that's the big thing, turning the football over. They definitely have changed their style of offense with Osweiler. Everybody sees it. Under the center more play actions. The run game has improved a little when he's under the center.
He's going gun here on 3rd and 2 with no running back. And he throws it right in there to Thomas for the first.
Well,
gain of 11.
This is a day to get well, to get your passing game back in shape. The Pittsburgh Steelers, this defense, they struggle. No question against the pass. 31st out of 32 teams when it comes to giving up yards in the passing game. So not a surprise to see the Broncos come out here in the shotgun formation, 5 wide receivers.
And he fumbles the snap, and it results in a sack as Timmons just took off. He saw the quarterback was in trouble.
He saw it, he reacted. Timmons, 94, coming on the blitz, and he was going to blitz the whole time. He was trying to give a little fake, like, oh, I'm looking to cover somebody.
I'll tell you what,
yeah.
If that ball wasn't even fumbled, I think he would have gotten to Osweiler.
I believe
he was
too.
Going through there untouched.
Listen, this defense, it's all about the linebackers making the tackles in the run game, and they provide the pass rush coming from different spots, trying to confuse an offensive line.
2nd and 17, getting some of it back here with Sanders' 3rd catch on this drive. Puts him in field goal range at the 34, gain of 9. Gary Kubiak, first season as head coach here in Denver. He was here in the playoffs last year as the coordinator for the Ravens as Baltimore won that wild card playoff game here last January 30-17. Third and 8. The pass play to Sanders put him in position for a field goal opportunity at worst, but they've got more designs than just a field goal on their mind, as that's a completion to Norwood for a first.
Tell you one thing I do notice a lot with Brock Osweiler, Norwood's going to go up, come across the field. Look at the defense. It's looking to the underneath receiver. Good patience by the quarterback. And then throws it behind the defense. You see, throws like that. Brock Osweiler, I actually think he throws the football better when he drops his arm down and throws it a little more sidearm. Controls it well, throws good spirals that way.
This is again busted right off the snap, and he's able to take it ahead for 1.
You know, you talk about this Pittsburgh defense. As I talk to players and coaches this week,
was not clean at the start for Osweiler.
nope. Football comes up a little short. Usually that's the quarterback's fault. Got to stay into the center a little longer.
2nd and 9. Here they come. He got it away, and it's incomplete. Nothing on the pass with all that pressure.
Nope, just a good job of getting rid of the football. And the Steelers, when you watch them play, they're not built to get pressure just with the front line. It's about the linebackers. We've already said that. Big hit Osweiler takes. Timmons, Shazier, both hit him as he's throwing the football.
So the Broncos face 3rd and 9. Owen Daniels at the top. Split wide. Osweiler throws at the goal line. It's caught for the touchdown. Demaryius Thomas.
It's one of the best throws of the year by Osweiler so far. He sees it, he catches it, he throws it in rhythm, and he threw it with power right on target. A zone defense. Looked like he looked down the middle, turns, he knows what he's got right away before the ball is snapped. And they need that. They need that touchdown throw. They need to get Demaryius Thomas going.
Yeah, he came off a rough week last week.
Yes, he did. Had some drops. You know, you get down on yourself as a wide receiver.
Extra point.
That'll get you going.
Delivered by McManus. They converted 3 third downs on that drive. So their first touchdown in 25 offensive series for the Broncos. And he's had some big moments. You remember in Peyton's debut game as a Denver Bronco, it was a Sunday night affair, and he caught a little wide receiver screen, took it 71 yards for a touchdown. But the previous year in the playoffs, the first time ever the current sudden death playoff rules got to what we have today. Remember,
Tebow.
80 yards it was Thomas against the Steelers.
So you're telling me he had good vibes all week coming into this game?
He should have, because he scored again against them. Off the fumble, the Steelers scored, but Osweiler answers back with a touchdown toss. We are back here in the Steel City with the Pittsburgh offense now at the 20-yard line. And pre-snap call coming against Pittsburgh.
False start, number 84, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Well, Jim, let's look at this touchdown by Brock Osweiler. He looked down the middle of the field. That's the first thing I liked. And then 2 speed receivers to the outside, and they stay spread, and it makes it tough on the corner. Cockrell, who really is responsible for the inside receiver, but hard to come off of Caldwell because he attacked you so fast and hard down the sideline.
Osweiler threw for 84 yards on that touchdown drive. Here's a 1st and 15 pass. And that's Brown reaching down to grab it. Christmas Eve, only on NFL Network. The Chargers are going to square off with the Raiders. And then a special Saturday edition. The Redskins will take on the Eagles in NFC East action. All coming up on NFL Network. How about the Redskins winning today, now 7-7. 10-yard pass play to Brown sets up a 2nd and 5. Williams right into Sylvester Williams and Derek Wolfe. Well, the NFC playoff picture. Carolina had that 35-7 lead. Gets pushed to a 35-all tie before winning it. A last-second field goal, 38-35, staying unbeaten. Arizona 11-2, playing tonight at Philly, and Green Bay gets in because of the Giants' loss. Third down and 5. Roethlisberger, he is going to be taken down with flags raining down on that area.
And 2 guys back there, 2 guys that don't get enough credit.
Number 72 offense. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
Cody Wallace, the center. A couple of officials saw that, but that was Derek Wolfe along with Malik Jackson.
Derek Wolfe, Malik Jackson, there are no weak spots on this defense when you talk about the front 7 when it comes to getting after the quarterback. Everybody, we just don't talk about them enough because Von Miller is so great. DeMarcus Ware on the other side. But Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe, they make a big difference in this defense.
Jordan Berry. About the 39 where Sanders makes the fair catch. The man who used to wear number 88 for the Steelers makes the fair catch. Let's take a look at next-gen stats presented by Esurance.
Well, what do you see in these stats? When Peyton Manning is the quarterback, look at the number of plays out of the shotgun compared to Brock Osweiler, and look what they get under center, the difference. And when Brock Osweiler is under center, Emmanuel Sanders uncovered.
Then Sanders takes off to the end zone, returns to Pittsburgh, and takes it 61 yards.
Caught him on a blitz. Nobody picks him up. There he comes inside. They make a mistake down the field. That time Antoine Blake was on the blitz. Nobody was behind him to take Sanders. You saw Will Allen, the other safety, up near the line of scrimmage. Nobody deep.
Extra point, dead center. Remember, they had gone 24 drives without a touchdown, and now they've had 2 touchdowns in a minute and a half. Back with Bill Sims, Tracy Wolfson. Brock Osweiler here in this first quarter now has thrown for 145 yards and a couple of touchdowns here in the last 93 seconds.
Yeah, we started the game out with, if you want to get your passing game in order, the Steelers, they really have a hard time defending it. And not only when you make mistakes just like they did, that's what you can't understand, because the Steelers do enough blitzing where everybody knows the rules and what they're supposed to do, and that time nobody covering Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders, drafted by the Steelers in the 3rd round back in 2010, and McManus earns the touchback.
Well, Jim, let's see what went on in this play. Here's Emmanuel Sanders going to go down the field. Here comes Antoine Blake. It's going to blitz. Does anybody come over to pick up the wide receiver? There's Will Allen coming over, but nope, he doesn't get him. So what a good look, and getting rid of the football on time by Brock Osweiler to get that long, easy touchdown.
So who blew the assignment there?
I honestly can't tell you. As I look at it, it was man-to-man coverage with one blitzer. Maybe the formation confused the assignments by the defense. But if I knew who did it, I would tell you.
Here's Roethlisberger on 1st down, completing it to Bryant. Gain of 15. Shazier talking to William Gay. William Gay was blitzing from the other side on that touchdown play.
Look, I know it wasn't a complicated blitz because they had a safety in the middle. Should have been 5 guys blitzing. Instead, they had 6. That's why they were 1 short in the secondary.
Time! Yeah.
Underneath, Wheaton tiptoes out, gain of 8. Penalty marker down at the 28.
Well, one thing I know and I see, might as well say it before they make this call, is that Denver, which loves to be aggressive, is dropping back every once in a while because you play this group of wide receivers, you keep pressing them, one of them's going to get behind you for a big play.
Penalty use of hands to the face, number 96 defense. 5-yard penalty automatic. First down.
Vance Walker flagged for that. Tonight on CBS, the new season of Undercover Boss kicks off with a jaw-dropping episode. And don't miss the season premiere tonight right after 60 Minutes, only CBS. So no play there. The penalty accepted instead. First and 10 at the 40. Down the field and tapped away. Look at Talib reach right over the top. Bryant was bound to pull it in. And Talib, so tough. He denies it.
Well, this is what he's very good at. Staying outside receivers, sees the receiver, but also can look back at the quarterback and times it perfectly to knock the pass down.
Talib, right after this, started to head over to the Broncos sideline, and then he got about halfway there and fell to the ground. Aqib Talib shaken up on that pass defense. He was hit by his own teammate, David Bruton, in the neck area.
Yep, you can see 30, David Bruton grabs his neck right away. Aqib Talib does. David Bruton is a big safety, could play linebacker. Really an impressive player. When he needs to, he can go up and cover tight ends awfully well too. Webster in for Aqib Talib.
Roby's in there as well. Webster grew up down in Liberty City, Florida with Antonio Brown. And this play is brought to a halt.
Well, every time I do a Steelers game, one of the things I write down about the Steelers offense.
Infraction, number 58 defense unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Is the snap count. You got to practice it all week. Ben Roethlisberger, especially here at home, very good with it. They use that snap count to get you off sides, but to make you declare your defense. If you do move around or try to move too quick, great job by Roethlisberger.
Second penalty on this drive against the Denver defense. 2nd and 5. That's a first down as Antonio Brown, boy, he gets hit. And look at this, as Wallace comes in and 2 or 3 players got a few licks in. It wasn't pretty. Malik Jackson came in on the back end of that reception and I think started the whole thing.
Well, his, I thought, was legal. Then Cody Wallace retaliated, and it was definitely illegal.
Necessary roughness, number 72 offense. The result of the play is a first down. It'll be 1st and 10 after the 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, so they get Wallace.
Malik Jackson, 97, hits him while he's still up in the air. And then I'm sure that's what fired up Cody Wallace as he saw that hit.
Hey, Wallace got a pretty big hit right into the helmet of David Bruton.
You know, he sees it. and immediate your reaction is protect your teammate. But Malik Jackson, what hustle to rush the quarterback and still get back into the middle of the field and have time to legally hit the receiver.
Well, the play stands as a 12-yard gain, and then the penalties enforced between downs. It'll be 1st and 10. They're going to take Bruton out of the game. Watch Bruton get hit right here by Wallace. In fact, Bruton, I believe that came from upstairs. They take him to the sideline for at least one play. And meanwhile, Talib is back in for the Broncos.
Well, that puts all the corners, puts Roby back on the slot receiver, and Chris Harris on Antonio Brown.
Middle of the field, and a diving attempt at a pick. They say it is. It's Bush. Josh Bush wrestled down by Wheaton at the 50. Was it a clean catch?
Well, the coverage was tight. Bradley Roby on Marcus Wheaton. My first look tells me that is a catch. Did it hit his hand?
It looked like it hit his hand. It looked like it popped up off his hand.
That's what it looked like to me. And look at the coverage by Roby. Yep, that's gonna stand. That tells you about this Denver secondary, doesn't it? Roby, not even good enough to start, but he is an excellent third corner and allows Wade Phillips to play this aggressive style of defense where he can send blitzers and knowing that his guys can cover one-on-one down the field.
So the Broncos hurry to the line as soon as the interception is confirmed. C.J. Anderson is in the backfield after not playing it last week. And that's over the head of Sanders, and a flag comes down over here where Gay is tangled up with Thomas.
Pass interference, number 88 offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Tuesday on CBS, a pill makes a crime-solving genius, and the FBI has made him their greatest asset. It's limitless. It's Tuesday at 10, 9 Central, only CBS. 1st and 20 now for the Broncos. They work it inside with the handoff to Anderson for 2. They had no running game last week at all.
No, they didn't. The Oakland Raiders, they played down and they threw the ball very well short early in the game, Jim. But the Raiders pretty stout up front, tough to run the football on. And this defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's about the same. 9th in the league against the rush, 31st against the pass. What would you want to do if you play this defense?
2nd and 18. There's a catch by Sanders. He's knocked down right away by Blake. Well, they had only 34 yards on 21 carries. It's the lowest output on the ground by the Broncos since 2010. How about Sanders in his first quarter? 5 catches, 107 yards, and that touchdown from 61 out.
I'd say he's pretty excited about being in front of this crowd. And, of course, I think these receivers excited about the fact that they're the focal point of this offense today and not the run game.
3rd and 11, and they whistle it dead.
Neutral zone infraction, number 50 defense. His movement into the neutral zone caused a reaction by the offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
It was Shazier who got jumpy.
Yep, jumps.
That was Dupree also.
Clearly came off. You know, but as watching this first quarter, Brock Osweiler, quick with decisions, throwing the football on time.
14-7, the visitors after 1. You're watching the NFL on CBS. First quarter stats, the Broncos 165 total yards, 145 off the arm of Osweiler, who had a perfect quarterback rating in the opening 15 minutes. Jim Nantz sends Tracy Wolfson here Heinz Field, 3rd and 6. And that picks up the burst. He keeps going back to Sanders.
Well, the formation, you're getting zone coverage. Sanders, the inside of the 3, and look at all the space that he has to work with. Really, that could have been a double team, but if it is, you got to get tighter. Sanders comes out, there's inside, there's outside. And I said it, quick decisions, getting rid of the football. He's done that well in his 4 starts.
Deep drop and an open man again. Thomas. There is tremendous separation between the Bronco receivers and the Steelers secondary.
Well, the Steelers secondary, Jim, coming into this game, their number 1 goal is, hey, let's don't get beat deep. So if you have that mentality, that's going to open up a lot of passes underneath. And the Broncos right now are just tearing it apart.
And, of course, they already did get beat deep for a 61-yard touchdown in the first quarter. Anderson. Stutter step move down to the 15.
Yeah, they got beat deep because they made a mental mistake, which is even worse. That's a pretty good start for a young quarterback who told us what he did. I'm not reading the papers. I don't listen to the radio. I don't watch TV. I don't want to hear any of the stuff that's being said about the Broncos, the quarterback situation, Peyton Manning, or him.
Very upbeat, positive guy. We found him.
Absolutely. Confident in his ability. Made a lot of plays. He should be confident.
2nd and 5. Pump fake. Keeps it. Now unloads. And incomplete in the area of Fowler.
I like what Osweiler, when we asked him, okay, you've had 4 starts. What have you learned? And his answer,
1,000 things.
1,000. So no matter how much you practice and what you do, there's nothing like getting on that field and learning all the things that you can't do in practice.
And the short-term memory. He says that's essential. And this team even showed that after coughing up the football on their 2nd snap in this game that led to a touchdown and a quick deficit.
It's a game of adversity. You got to deal with it and move on. They've done a good job of that here today.
3rd and 5 from the 15. And Osweiler has another first down and a goal-to-go situation set up by the reception to Daniels.
Well, pretty easy read and throw by Brock Osweiler. Watch Owen Daniels go down the field. Who's covering him? Don't know. Another missed assignment by the Steeler defense.
Daniels, one of 3 tight ends for Denver for this next snap. First and goal. Running play. And it's there. Down to the 1 for Hillman. They had it blocked. Blake prevented the touchdown.
Well, this offensive line's got it going here now. Paradis to center. Good job. As you watch, Vasquez also gets a good block. They got the Steeler defense good against the run. They're thinking pass. They caught him with the run play. Gets inside the 1.
Columbus shifts back to the offensive line. 2nd and goal. And Hillman in danger of losing big yardage. And he's knocked out at the 7 by Golden. This is what happened against the Raiders. They had 4 running plays inside the 25 that led to -8 rushing yards inside the 25.
Well, right from the start, inside, McClendon, number 90 on the center, pushes the play backwards, and then the rest of the defense in position to make the tackle on your right. They have struggled inside the 5, running the football, losing yards.
How about losing 6? A 2nd and goal at the 1 turns into a 3rd and goal back at the 7. Osweiler going to keep it, and he's going to have a touchdown.
Boy, that's what you do. Didn't force it. It opens up. Nobody staying in rush lanes. As you just watch it, they're doubling the inside receivers. Everybody's worried about coverage. Nobody looking at the quarterback. And Osweiler, that's what you learn in your 5th game as a starter, Jim. You just get a feel for when to move, what to do. And he's moved a couple times today at the right time. Big run for the touchdown.
50-yard drive, 10 plays. Extra point is going to be wide of the mark. First missed point after by McManus this season. But Brock Osweiler has thrown for 2 touchdowns and now run for another. Brock Osweiler with his first rush touchdown since November the 5th of 2011 when he was the quarterback for the Arizona State Sun Devils in a game against UCLA.
How about that? What a start by him. What a confidence builder, not only for him, but the coaching staff, Gary Kubiak calling the plays. As I said earlier, the wide receivers.
McManus's kick picked up on the bounce at the goal line, slammed down is Wheaton by Todd Davis.
Well, we talk so much about Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. How about Derek Wolfe? I see this all the time. Look at his arms, extends them, makes the tackle for no gain, and can rush the passer. In 97, Malik Jackson just splits the both offensive linemen, gets the sack. Great hustler, both of them in really good shape, and they just put this defense over the top.
Derek Wolfe was raised about 45 minutes to an hour west of here, just across the state line in Ohio, south of Youngstown. And in traffic, stepping up and giving it away to Brown. Roethlisberger, he had great presence to know that he had not crossed the line of scrimmage. And Brown, the recipient of that one for a 17-yard play.
Look at all the movement by the defensive lineman. That creates the hole for Roethlisberger to step up into. And that's one thing they say with the Steelers. They talk about his presence in the pocket, never worries about getting hit, and moves to make throws like that.
Knocked away by Talib. Trying to find Bryant on the slant. And Talib again makes a fine play. Talib last week was matched up against Amari Cooper, and he held him to no catches on 8 targets.
Aqib Talib, you know, you always make these statements when you do the games, but he is playing as good as any corner and not afraid. Will go for the chance to get the interception. We've seen it. So tall, long arms, makes a lot of plays like we just saw.
Second down play. That's Brown. Harris able to break Harris's attempt at a tackle and get the first down. Trevathan also had a hard time stopping him.
Well, he's so quick. And a nice little fake up the field. And that's really, Antonio Brown does so much damage within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. And that's what they like to do. Get him the football, see if he can make somebody miss and pick up extra yards.
Another quick throw. This one to Bryant. Steps back once. And now that sets up a big gain and another first. Martavis Bryant.
Well, we talked about the screens. And when you run these outside screens, you need blockers, wide receivers. Heath Miller gets out there and gets in the way. And Wheaton gets a good block on Talib. You got to help each other to make those plays work.
Play selection so far for Pittsburgh, 15 passes, 3 running plays. Actually, it's 16 because one of them was a sack. 15 attempts by Ben. Going to go up top again, and it's incomplete in the area of Wheaton. This trio right here, when you take Brown, Bryant, and Wheaton, most receiving yards for any trio in the NFL.
Yeah, what a group of receivers. We were out in Seattle. You remember Richard Sherman had a great day against Antonio Brown. What did Ben Roethlisberger end up throwing for? A lot.
All-time record, Seattle opponent record.
Yeah, I mean, he just turns to the next receiver and doesn't worry about it. That's how good they are. And Heath Miller has been very good of late, catching passes too.
4:56 for Ben, who's looking for more here. He's got it. It's Brown inside the 10. There is a flag back at the line of scrimmage. And that's Brown and his old buddy Webster. They grew up together again in the Miami area.
Holding. Number 83 offense. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
The call on Heath Miller negates a 32-yard pass play.
Heath Miller up top, going to get Shaq Barrett. Gets fooled right at the start, does grab him, so it's a good call. And you see the defense, when they play zone defense, it almost looks strange for the Denver Broncos because they're just looking at the quarterback. And when you do that, you got to hope your rush gets there because there's a lot of space. And Ben Roethlisberger found it that time to Antonio Brown.
Yeah, just when it looked like, though, they were going to have first and goal from about the 3. The penalty sets them back to the 46. And a 2nd and 20. And Roethlisberger knew that Miller was about to take him down.
Von Miller, how quick? Here he comes. Watch the jump. This is why you got to use your step count. Dips that shoulder, and Ben Roethlisberger could feel it, see it, get rid of the ball.
You could hear Carl Chuffers talking about that pass was in the area of Heath Miller, who was trying to hold off Ware as long as he could.
Well, it was a screen play to Heath Miller, but it all happened so fast they couldn't even get that done.
So 3rd and 20 now for the Steelers back at the 46. Roethlisberger, deep ball with a flag. It's incomplete, but it looks like it might be a call against the Denver secondary. And it is going to be.
Pass interference. Number 21 defense. Automatic. First down.
This time it's on to Talib.
It was a double move down the field. Oh, there it was. He was reading the quarterback. And Talib did what you're really kind of taught to do. When the guy goes by you, you know you beat. Don't give up the touchdown. Reach out and grab him.
Just that slight little pull of the jersey. That's all the officials needed to see. It's a 24-yard penalty on a 3rd and 20.
3rd and 20. Got to play the situation. To get caught in the double move there, that's pretty tough to take.
Harris tackles down Antonio Brown after a 9-yard gain. Tonight, would you like to know what Apple is working on next? Rare and wide-ranging interviews with CEO Tim Cook and his team only on 60 Minutes tonight.
Ben Roethlisberger doing a good job. That pocket is collapsing fast.
2nd and 1. Williams, Malik Jackson on him, but Williams able to take it for the first down with a couple of yards to spare.
Well, they're getting down inside this area, Jim, where the Steelers like to start their practices a lot. But not quite. 2-point conversions. They get in, they do a lot of work against each other. It's one of the reasons why they're so great.
Yeah, they practice those conversion starters against starters 2 days a week. Really all about trying to get the 2-point conversion plays put in that they're going to use later. They've been going to that with more frequency than anyone. Here comes the blitz. Roethlisberger able to again find his target. Brown.
Well, it's just a catch and throw, and he's reading the coverage, Ben Roethlisberger. Watch it. It's a blitz. Here comes Marshall. Catch it and throw it. You talk about all that work they do. You know, it builds competition, team chemistry. It's a great thing for everybody. And to get rid of the monotony of the routines you can get in sometimes in the NFL when it comes to practice.
Harris slides over the top to guard Brown. 2nd and goal. And that goes right through a number of Steelers. Brian was in the area.
Well, they want to go to the strong side. Nobody's open, so the second receiver is coming from the left side. And once again, Aqib Talib, tight coverage.
11th play of this drive is coming up.
That's what you want to do, Jim, against man coverage where you all got a guy, cross them, go across the field. Tough to follow them. That's the toughest thing about the style of defense Denver plays.
3rd and goal from the 6. to the end zone and incomplete. Roby. He was defending Wheaton.
Incomplete. How about that play by Bradley Roby? Top of the screen. Reads it. Oh, I don't know how he read the outcut, but he made the move before Wheaton.
So the Steelers are going to have to attempt a field goal by Chris Boswell from 24 yards out. He's been quite a find. His place kicker out of Rice. And that kick is good with a little excitement. Well, here we go again. Malik Jackson, Foster in there for the Steelers.
This keeps up. Somebody's going to have to get thrown out of the game to settle it down.
Legursky telling his side of the story.
They're offsetting fouls on the play. Unnecessary roughness number 60, offense. Unnecessary roughness number 90, defense. Those fouls offset. Timeout.
Watch the kick by Boswell. Off the goalpost and good. Now we know why the Boswell kick was such a knuckleball. It actually wasn't until it grazed the fingertip of Shaq Barrett. Boswell now 25 of 27 on the year. Field. I didn't know we'd have this kind of activity, all these flare-ups between these two today.
Well, either did I. But, you know, this game drew a lot of attention all week. Reporters talking to you constantly, your family saying things to you, and it just builds up, and we're seeing some of the reactions to the build-up to this game today.
And only a quarter and a half. I hope this can go 15 rounds. First down, Osweiler avoids the sack and picks up 8. My goodness, they had him. Cameron Hayward had a shot at him.
Well, Cameron Hayward coming off the right side, came off the left side, pushes him up in the pocket, and Osweiler, we've seen this today, does move in the pocket, gets outside. We haven't seen all the play action bootlegs to show off his movement, which we usually see, because the Steelers, with their linebackers, tough to do those type of plays.
Well, the Broncos have had 3 consecutive touchdown drives. On 2nd and 3, they give it to Sanders. He's got the first, and he's racing down the sideline and stopped near the 50. A 24-yard run by Emmanuel Sanders.
Owen Daniels, watch number 81. Gets outside, gets the block. And does Sanders stay in bounds the whole time? Yeah, he can turn the corner and turn it tightly.
140 yards of offense by Sanders, including 6 catches for 116. And Osweiler just throws that toward the feet of Vernon Davis.
I thought we might see quite a bit of Vernon Davis today because of his speed. They've involved him in the offense more. Last week he was a big target. Some good matchups for him out there, but they don't need him so far. They're throwing it to all the wide receivers.
Well, Vernon Davis is playing here for the 2nd time this year. 2nd week of the season. He and the 49ers played the Steelers. They had 5 catches for 62 yards. Sure, he never imagined he'd be making a 2nd appearance at Heinz Field. And he tried to put on the brakes and then add a wiggle, but the Steelers closed in on him after 7.
Yeah, wiggle didn't work. Mike Mitchell, number 23, good cutback, good blocking on the backside. But watch, Mike Mitchell squares up, nowhere for Hillman to go.
Last week, 34 on 21 attempts. Already 71 on the ground. Third and 3. And again, Sanders is left alone. And he slides down at the 25.
Well, we had a chance to talk to Lawrence Timmons, the middle linebacker for the Steelers. They were all excited. Hey, this is going to be great. We're going to play a team that likes to run the football so we can do what we do. Well, that's just not the case. When people play the Steelers, they want to throw it. How about that, getting Spence, a linebacker, out there against Sanders? That's a terrible matchup for the Steelers.
And how about Osweiler and this team? 7 for 7 on third down. And Anderson with the penalty marker down at the 30.
Holding. Number 65 offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Vasquez called for that one. That last throw to Sanders put Osweiler over 200 yards passing. And we're still just 5 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Well, they're just running the football every now and then, Jim, just to let Brock Osweiler catch his breath before he drops back and throws the next one. But, hey, look, they've gone under center. They ran the football, but you cannot deny, you look at this receiving core for the Denver Broncos, it might not quite be the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's not far behind them.
First and 20. And the completion to the 29 to Thomas. And yet another yellow marker. William Gay thinks that Thomas may have pushed off.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Number 55 defense. 5 yards penalty. Automatic first down.
So what had been a first and 20 play, they'll take the penalty here against Pittsburgh and the automatic first down that comes with it. And as Demaryius Thomas is a little shaken up.
55. Arthur Moats, yeah, definitely got the hands into Harris and gets called for it. I'm sorry, Schoenfield.
New set of downs at the 31. C.J. Anderson thrown down by Jarvis Jones. Thomas a little gimpy.
Now you look at Demaryius, been fighting his health a lot this year. You can always tell. I mean, look, these guys are asked to run so much, and of course they got to do it at use so much energy to generate that speed. When you're not 100%, hard to perform great on the field.
2nd and 8. Sanders. That's another 7. 8 catches now for 139.
Well, I think what's really interesting is you watch the game as we watch Brock Osweiler throw the football. How many times, Jim, has he looked at the second receiver? Not many. The first guy he looks at is open. He lets it go. No pressure on the offensive line to hold the defensive line out.
Thomas back in. He's at the bottom of the screen. Again, the Broncos perfect on third down to this point. Trying to get there on the ground, and they've got it with Hillman. And he scampers to about the 8. And here's Mitchell, who had been nursing a shoulder injury all week that at one point had him questionable. He's in agony, and we'll step aside. Mike Mitchell getting some attention from Dr. Jim Bradley, the Steeler doctor.
Center, right guard, get excellent blocks, Jim. Vasquez, Paradis, and how about that? They keep the Broncos perfect on third down here today.
Yeah, 8 for 8, and it's first and goal. Trying to polish off a 4th consecutive touchdown drive. They can negotiate those last 8 yards. They've got 2 of them right there.
Well, So many things. There comes Mike Mitchell back in the game. But the offense, it's rolling. 2-minute warning coming, and they're keeping Ben Roethlisberger on the sideline.
2-minute warning in Pittsburgh. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB and the crew. All the scores and highlights coming up. Verizon Halftime Report. Second and goal, though, for the Broncos coming out of the 2-minute warning. Over to Thomas. Stiff arm. That works. Touchdown, Denver.
Boy, you see this type of play quite a bit. Why? Because these receivers are so big and strong, and if you're going to put a defensive back against them, one-on-one, the quarterback is going to take advantage of it. And when you go to make the tackle, you've got to go down by the knees. You go high, that's what happens. You get a straight arm, they walk in.
Boy, he just punished Blake with that stiff arm, and that might ring familiar for Steeler fans. Just dialing back the memory bank here because we were there for it. That 80-yard touchdown winner in the playoff game 4 seasons ago.
Yeah.
A stiff arm by Thomas on Ike Taylor at midfield that freed him to take it 80.
A pass from Tim Tebow.
That's right.
What a start by Osweiler.
We are back, and surprisingly during the break, Brock Osweiler really not moving that left arm at all. He headed to the Denver locker room after having thrown 3 touchdowns and rushed. And Wheaton out to about the 26.
You know, you look at this Denver Broncos, look what they've done so far with their 5 possessions, the fumble, then the 4 touchdowns. And Jim, I know it's the Pittsburgh defense, but I think last week the fact that the offense struggled so much that Gary Kubiak said this is a great time to open it up, to show everybody our quarterback in this offense can still move the football and score. They have definitely done that here in the first half.
Well, they put up almost 300 yards of offense, 296. And the report from the Broncos PR staff is it's a left shoulder injury for Osweiler, probable to return. Draw. Williams. Broncos are there. Brandon Marshall. Loss of 2.
Brandon Marshall read it, got in the backfield. When you watch this defense, it's so different from other defenses. Wade Phillip actually tells, the defensive coordinator tells the guys, if you think you can make a play, go ahead and do it. Don't worry about doing the discipline of the defense.
Second and 12. He pulls it down after thinking about throwing it. Nice elusive move by Bryant. It's going to be 3rd and 2 coming up, and we're going to look back at one of the possible plays where Osweiler could have gotten hurt. Watch the left shoulder. Handing it off.
Oh boy, he was really, you could see that was painful. Not sure if the handoff did it or he was hurt before that, where he hurt that left shoulder.
3rd and 2, 1:17 to go. Both teams with all of their timeouts. Here comes a big blitz. Leaves a man open. It's Bryant. And the Broncos drag him to the ground at the 46.
How about that? 3rd and 2. You send 2 people from the secondary up the middle. Steelers ready for it. Both safeties.
Steelers called a timeout at 1:10 to go. And they've got a first down, trying to do a little something here before halftime. In fact, coming up at halftime, we'll go back to New York with a Verizon halftime report. JB, Tony, Martin, Boomer, Coach Cowher, all the latest scores, highlights, and analysis coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
Jim, I want to go back and say what I was saying about Wade Phillips. In other words, when you're doing your job, if you think you can do and go make a play, then go ahead and take that chance and try to make that play. It's you never hear that from a coach. That's why this defense, it plays fast and it plays free.
Roethlisberger to Heath Miller. His first catch, good for 5. The clock runs at 1 minute.
Still plenty of time. 2 timeouts.
Pressure again. They've got hold of him.
Little Dwight Freeney spin move that time on the outside.
Shane Ray.
Shane Ray, boy, watching. Coming from the left side.
Look at Shane Ray, their first-round pick out of Missouri. Timeout was called after the sack by the Steelers, leaving them with one.
He made a great move, got around Villanueva. It was a terrific story in himself, number 78, how he has stepped in and played so well, especially the last few weeks. But Shane Ray starting to show up more and more as the year goes along. You said it, a rookie, first-round draft pick.
3rd and 13.
How can you not get better watching DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller every day in practice?
Deep drop. Roethlisberger to Brown. Brown. Out of bounds at about the 42.
Great job of standing in the pocket by Ben Roethlisberger. And what they did, they switched receivers. So that put Antonio Brown, instead of on Chris Harris, they got him on Bradley Roby. And Bradley Roby was outside. That's why when he went inside, he was wide open.
And you may have seen Tomlin applauding it from the sideline as Brown went out of bounds just in front of him. First down, 31 seconds, one timeout. Stepping up and zipping it complete to Wheaton at the 28. So now they brought Boswell into the equation, and the timeout's called by Pittsburgh. It's last.
Boy, clever route by Wheaton. Good work in the pocket by Roethlisberger. But they've been going across the field so many times. That was a across the field stop and break back out. When you watch Roethlisberger in the pocket, it's kind of like watching Cam Newton, you know, some of these guys. They're not afraid. They're never worried about getting hit. They just shift around back there, buy the extra time, and still throw the football down the field.
He's at 189 here in the first half. Our quarterbacks have combined for over 400 yards of passing.
Yeah, this is the toughest test this Denver secondary has faced all year by far.
Let's see what the Steelers do with no timeouts. They go to Heath Miller. And tackled by Bruton. And here they run to the line of scrimmage to get set to spike it. And out comes Boswell.
Yeah, that's the play. Don't even risk throwing a short pass. You know Denver is going to play all outside routes. This field goal's big. Get you within 2 touchdowns.
It'll be 41 yards for Boswell. Perry on the hold. Warren snaps it back, and the kick is good. Well, since debuting in Week 5 when he became the 4th different Steelers kicker on the season, Chris Boswell has led all kickers in the NFL in field goals and points. What a find.
Of course, I think we see it, we witnessed it, probably the stats even bear it out. For some reason, it's not that windy here, but this is a tough stadium to be a field goal kicker in.
Well, he just broke the franchise record for a Steeler rookie or first-year kicker. Broke Chris Brown's mark for most field goals in the first year. That was his 26th make.
Well, we all came into this game. Couldn't wait to see Ben Roethlisberger throw against this Broncos defense. And shoot, now everybody's sitting around going, well, we want to see more Brock Osweiler, how he's throwing against the Steeler defense, because terrific first half for Denver's offense, and especially the quarterback.
Anxious to see what Osweiler will look like after Going to the locker room. Thompson falls on it. And let's see who comes out here now with just this one snap. It's going to be Simeon, a rookie from Northwestern who they drafted in the 7th round.
Well, I know they like him. And, of course, they must like him. That's why he's the backup quarterback. But we've been out to do a few Broncos games. I've watched him practice. Throws the football very well.
Well, they're not going to ask a lot of him here for this snap.
I hope not. It's going to kill his stats.
Yeah, it's going to be in negative yardage territory. Gary Kubiak has to love what he saw in that first half when the offense went 4 consecutive drives down the field for touchdowns. All right, let's send it down to Tracy.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Over 200 passing yards by Denver. How do you have to adjust coverage-wise in the second half?
We just got to stop defeating ourselves. You know, we're making some mistakes from an assignment standpoint, from a communication standpoint. It's tough to beat anyone when you're playing like that. I give them credit. They're doing some good things, but it's about us settling down and being who we are.
A lot of chippiness out there. How much will you address that at half?
You know, I'm more concerned about our execution at this point. The chippiness is not why we're down by 14. The lack of execution is, so we got to tighten up some things.
Thanks a lot.
That's the end of the first half with the score Denver 27 and Pittsburgh 13. Broncos average just a little more than 21 points a game. They put up 27 in the first half here in Pittsburgh. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. .295 yards of offense by the Broncos in the first half, leading it 27-13. And follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. Now, Brock Osweiler has come back out here. He ran onto the field from the locker room, but we believe he might have gotten hurt right here on the scramble on that last drive he participated in. Hit by Sean Spence. He got hit on that same drive a little later on by Cameron Hayward. Grimaced after he handed it off here to Hillman. And then he went in early, but he's come back out here, Phil.
Well, I watched him run out on the field, and you can tell it's not 100%, but it's going to be good enough. And
you think it was on the Spence hit?
I do. That hit was so direct, the helmet right to the shoulder.
Well, Norwood near the 20. Got an update, in fact, coming from Tracy. What do you got, Trace?
Jim, I spoke with Gary Kubiak coming out of the locker room, and he said that Brock Osweiler hit that left shoulder pretty hard, but he is going to try and give it a go. He also told me that he brought him into the locker room earlier than normal just to give him that extra time to get treatment, Jim.
Okay. Coming off a first half, 14 out of 18. 214 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he also ran one in for another score from 7 yards out. Patient that time as he goes back to Thomas and picks up 9. And how about this performance? Put the injury aside for a minute. How many people you think saw this kind of performance coming from Brock Osweiler?
Not many. Even against the Steelers' pass defense, I don't think we saw it coming. But, you know, a couple things. If you're the Steelers, what are you going to do to stop this? You got to start playing tighter defense. You got to blitz. You got to take chances. You just can't let them control the football and march up and down the field.
Hillman got enough there for a first down at the 30. Roethlisberger put up big numbers of his own, although he didn't have anything in the touchdown department. Their one score coming on a rushing play by D'Angelo Williams. First down, Broncos. Here's Hillman. Did it in an extra gear trying to get to that edge. He got tangled up on the sideline with Jarvis Jones. Let's see the flag here. Holding against Denver. Boy, look at him get all tangled up in the chains of the down markers.
Jarvis Jones.
Jarvis Jones not out there.
Yeah, I didn't know he was going to have contact on the sideline.
Will not get credit for the tackle.
There you go.
Right. 1st and 20. C.J. Anderson comes into the backfield. Osweiler incomplete. Sanders looking around wanting a flag on Cockrell, but doesn't get it. When you look at the numbers from the first 30 minutes, what stood out?
Well, the total yards by the Broncos, the fact that they had 4 straight drives in a row where they went down and scored, that stands out.
But the third down conversion.
Well, third down conversions, I couldn't even get to it. There's so many great numbers. And the receiving yards by the wide receivers.
2nd and 20 as Osweiler steps back into the gun. And 5 wides. And that was Anderson. Shazier on him. 3rd and 20 coming up.
The coverage underneath is tighter. Watch Mitchell, he drives, but when he drives, you got to be careful as a quarterback. Don't get too conservative. Read the defense. If they want to get tighter, throw it behind them.
Third and 20. Draw play, Anderson. Finally, it took a 3rd and 20 to do it, but Pittsburgh stops them on 3rd down, and they take Osweiler off the field for the first time on a drive since the first quarter at the very beginning. And Anderson is shaken up. Anderson has been battling an ankle injury. Trying to stiff arm Mitchell. And James Harrison had the helmet into the back of Anderson as he was falling to the ground. There was a holding call against Denver on that play that was declined. It's called a Max Garcia. So Britton Colquitt comes out to punt to Antonio Brown. Britton's father Craig punted for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the late 70s, early 80s, and helped Pittsburgh win a couple of Super Bowls in his time. With no pressure, his punt travels to the 32. Brown up ahead, nice little run back to about the 45. 13-yard return off a 44-yard punt. Jim Nantz, Bill Sims, Tracy Wolfson back here in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, about to take on their first possession of the second half.
Well, Greg Knapp talking to Brock Osweiler, going over that first series. And the Steelers, Jim, going against this terrific defense, move the ball. You can see a couple drives, 2 field goals, 12 and 10 play drives to end the half.
What adjustments do you think Pittsburgh made with its offense at halftime?
You can see up top, 5 rushes, 30 passes. You'd like to keep a little balance. I think Todd Haley coming into this game was hoping that they could be a little more patient with the run game and wear this defense down.
Williams, look at Malik Jackson. wrap them up, hold them to 1.
Hard to wear this defense down when you talk about running the football and doing it that way because it is so deep. They have so many defenders. They rotate, extra defensive linemen in there. We've talked about all the good defensive backs they have in coverage, and Wade Phillips. He feels like his defense is to get a little complacent. All he does is dial up a blitz, get everybody involved again.
2nd and 9. They go again to Williams. This time he is tossed out of bounds by Trevathan. It'll be 3rd and about 5.
Well, Trevathan has the speed to get outside, make the tackle, and Malik Jackson forced that run wide again. Malik Jackson, boy, he's playing some game. I think I've said that before when I've done Bronco games.
You've been impressed by what you've seen out of Jackson this season, taking it to another level.
Every year he's gotten better in the NFL. He's an impact player now, no question. A guy that goes into the game, not just trying to do his job, but have an impact on the outcome.
3rd down, 3rd and 5 for Roethlisberger. And that's incomplete. Roby was defending on Wheaton, no flag. Roethlisberger thought he had been held.
Coverage was tight. It's a blitz coming inside Bruton.
Saw the little hook by Roby. That's what Roethlisberger was referring to.
Yep. Contact was a little early, but the officials deemed that it had nothing to do with the outcome of the play. They let it go.
So with 3 and out after great field position, KO fields the punt at the 15. 36-yard boot. Team exchange punts here at the start of the 3rd. The Broncos leading it by 14. Happy holidays to all of you as we pick up the Broncos now. 1st down at the 14. That's a dangerous throw that falls incomplete. Intended for Demaryius Thomas. Broken up by Boykin.
Yep, they've been playing Brandon Boykin on the outside. Watch him react to the screen. No, he was underneath on Emmanuel Sanders. Read it, gets right off, almost gets the interception. Well, you can tell it's only been 4 plays, but the defense, the attitude.
Yeah, it's different.
Embarrassed in the first half, trying to be tougher, play tighter.
2nd and 10, and Hillman has 3, maybe 4. Tuitt was there. NFL fans looking for that special holiday gift? Well, there's still time at NFLshop.com. Get free shipping. There's a special offer at the official store of the NFL, NFLshop.com. 3rd down coming up for Denver. C.J. Anderson has returned to the lineup. Shaken up on the last drive. Osweiler steps away from the heat, lobs it, incomplete, broken up by Will Allen. It looked like Owen Daniels might make the play. There is a flag down.
Holding, number 79 offense. That penalty's declined, result of the play. 4th down.
Called on Schofield, so again, the Broncos come off the field in a hurry as the Steelers have tightened things up here in the 3rd quarter.
They definitely have. They've moved the defense up, playing some man-to-man coverage. They couldn't get away, and that was an excellent play down the field. Will Allen, as Owen Daniels changed his route, he was right next to him.
Colquitt didn't see the field in the first half for a punt, and now back-to-back punting situations. And this one, not a good one. Off the side of the foot. Past the 40. Make it the 41. There was a wonderful moment here in Pittsburgh just a few moments ago. The Steelers teaming up with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, surprising Staff Sergeant Michelle Satterfield. First by bringing out her brother, Staff Sergeant Jeremy Betcher. That was a surprise. And then on behalf of the Steelers and again Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Michelle and her 12-year-old son were presented a house just outside of Pittsburgh in White Oaks, Pennsylvania. In honor of all the many things she's done, service for her country, a fourth-generation Army soldier who serves in the reserves today. Tip of the hat to Michelle and her family and all the military folks around the world as we've got flags flying and Roethlisberger falling back near the 30. Again, Malik Jackson was in on the play.
He's trying to go to the Pro Bowl today.
Holding. Number 78 offense. That penalty's declined. Second down.
Malik Jackson, number 97, gets inside right away against Villanueva. And there's nothing he can do but hold on. It didn't matter if he held or not. It was going to be a sack against Roethlisberger.
And that's his second sack. Malik Jackson, that is, today. Third overall for the Broncos.
His presence inside so far, probably one of the biggest differences in this game here today.
2nd and 19. Tipped and caught. Harris deflected it. Brown stayed with it. Picks up 8.
Yeah, Antonio Brown gets the catch. But look at the coverage, how tight it is. And that's what you just know you're going to have to do. When you play this team, the Denver Broncos need these defensive backs. You're going to have to make a lot of contested throws.
Antonio Brown has 8 catches for 87 yards. He goes to the top, and again, Harris joins him. 3rd and 11. Most time he's had all game long, and Roethlisberger takes advantage. Wheaton catches it, gets to his feet, and has the first down.
Protection is the big deal here for Ben Roethlisberger. The extra time, and it lets Wheaton look how long he scanned the field. And I think Wheaton was not open. He's in the slot against Roby, covered, stops, sees the quarterback, and works his way back outside.
They mark it at the 46 of the Broncos. Williams trying to bounce outside. Marshall won't let him. And look out, Derek Wolfe. He's exchanging a little bit with DeCastro.
Well, Jim, we talked about the coverage of these defensive backs, what they can do. It's a blitz. Look how tight they are to the receivers. And when you're that tight, such a small window to throw into caused Ben Roethlisberger to throw that interception in the first half.
2nd and 9. The 8-minute mark in the 3rd quarter. And that's incomplete. Roby defending on Wheaton.
I mean, that was a great job by Roby. My gosh, this is a tough route. Everybody in the league runs it. Inside receiver, all that space. And he looks right up, runs the route for Wheaton. It's a good thing Ben Roethlisberger didn't throw it right on target. It would have been intercepted. Pretty good when your third quarterback makes plays like that for you, just constantly out there in the field against the best receiving unit in the NFL.
Well, of course, he was a first-round pick out of Ohio State a year ago. And flags are down. Crowd knows they got a free play here. And it's a completion to Bryant.
First thing that Ben Roethlisberger has done many times.
Number 94 defense. That penalty's declined. Result of the play, first down.
And he draws you off sides, just like Aaron Rodgers. They look deep down the field for the big play.
Well, the Steelers trying to change the momentum in this game. After most of the first half belonged to Denver. On a first down from the 35, Roethlisberger going for the big one. And Brown defended by Harris, and the flags are out.
pass interference. Number 25 defense, automatic, first down.
Harris is explaining what he thought happened here.
Well, watch what happens. He's in great position. Then he just runs into the receiver. So he impedes his progress. You know, you just can't push him out of bounds. That's why they threw the flag. Of course, Chris Harris upset because he was in such great position to defend the pass, and then he made that foul.
That 26-yard penalty makes it first and goal at the 9. Roethlisberger to the end zone. For a touchdown over Harris. And that's the first one on Harris in 2 years. Antonio Brown.
Chris Harris guesses on the play. He's expecting that it's going to be a throw behind him. Watching. He's looking for the back shoulder throw to the corner by the pylon. In the front pylon. Instead, Antonio Brown reads it right. So did Ben Roethlisberger, and they throw it to the back of the end zone.
Brown was told in an interview earlier this week about this amazing streak that Harris had coming into the game. Not giving up a touchdown pass since the 2013 season, late in that year. And he said basically something like, wow, that's interesting. As if, we'll see about that on Sunday.
That's a challenge.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Papa John's, official pizza sponsor of the NFL. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Aerial coverage of this game is provided by MetLife. 10 unanswered by the Steelers. From 17 down to only 7. And they'll bring the Broncos out to the 20 as we take a look at next-gen stats presented by Esurance.
Well, Emmanuel Sanders, uncovered. That would excite you and make you run fast. And gets a chance in the open field. Nobody able to catch up to him with that blown assignment by the defense.
Max speed of 22. But he had a huge first half. This Broncos offense has done nothing on 2 drives here in the third quarter. Osweiler goes back to Sanders and a diving grab. There he is. And he may have fallen on the football. 29 here, Phil.
What a throw. Look at that move and patience at the line of scrimmage by Emmanuel Sanders and Ross Cockrell. There's really nothing you can do. Osweiler threw it high and soft and dropped it straight down. Perfect throw. Great route by Sanders.
Sanders and Brown putting on quite a show, as they used to when they were on the same side. Mike Wallace was the third member of what they called the Young Money crew here in Pittsburgh. Osweiler goes to Thomas. Well, he caught it, but I don't think he was in bounds when he did. They still haven't ruled on it. It wasn't a clean catch initially. Carl Cheppers is going to come in to assist. Well, I'll tell you what, that's pretty impressive.
Got those
footwork
feet down. The football still secure.
Well, that's not secure until he's out of bounds.
Going to be out of bounds.
Now they rule it incomplete on the field.
Gary Kubiak's got the red flag in his hand.
And he gives it back.
He heard you talking, Jim, and he said, nope, don't challenge.
Yeah, he's got the direct broadcast link into the headset. How you doing, Gary? Second down and 10. And the Steelers Plug that hole. Hillman, no gain.
To it, coming down the line of scrimmage. So important for the three front defensive guys, to it, McClendon and Hayward, to really play the plays just like we saw there to free up the linebackers so they can run and make the tackles.
8 out of 8 on third down in the first half. 0 for 2 here in the third quarter. Sanders is back on the field. Osweiler's in trouble from behind. They don't get to him in time. It's broken up. Broken up by Mike Mitchell. That pass was headed toward Andre Caldwell. Mitchell made the play.
Watch Osweiler in the pocket. Great job of moving around. He's in great position, makes a good throw, but Mitchell reading the quarterback, using his experience, and breaks it up.
And Antonio Brown stands back at the 10. He's already had a punt return for a touchdown this year, which gives him a touchdown return, that is, in each of the last 3 seasons. They have a chance to return this one. They can get the edge. There's no flag on that block, and there goes Brown. Now it comes out. It wasn't right away, but there's a flag down back at the 6. 42-yard punt, 21-yard return, and the penalty is going to bring this back and put the Steelers inside the 5-yard line.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 46 return team. Half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
It's called on Aaron Brewer. I didn't even see him near it. The penalty was on 46 here. Will Johnson blocking the back, and it sure looked like it live. And then they finally threw the flag. A couple of Bronco players are down there and colliding at the same time. Here's D'Angelo Williams.
It was a good call. Definitely a block in the back. It's got to give a lot of credit to the Steeler defense, what they're doing here in the second half, and also to Ben Roethlisberger hanging in there and making a lot of tough throws. And what we said coming into this game is really holding true. If you give him any window and any amount of time, he is not missing with the football.
That touchdown he threw on the last possession made it 38 consecutive home games he's thrown a touchdown pass. That's the 4th all-time streak in the league history. From the end zone. Look at Bryant. He goes, well, they marked him out of bounds. They said he had a foot out of bounds. Almost able to shake off Talib. So the foot was out of bounds, so it'll be a third down play on the way.
Well, he's a big receiver. You play off and give him a little room and watch the foot, and it just hits the white.
Yep.
But, you know, going back to Ben Roethlisberger, just to say this, the way he throws, the Steeler coaches admit they've never been around anybody hotter than him and more in tune and just more relaxed and has unbelievable rhythm throwing the football and can change speeds. That's the biggest thing. If he needs to throw it hard, he can put mustard on it and get it to him.
Well, let's see what he does here. There's a battle for it, and it's won by the Steeler receiver, Bryant, trying to make sure that Talib didn't strip it and take it. First down.
Well, you see what they're doing, Jim. They're moving them in motion. The timing was perfect. Talib read it, but the throw is perfect, and watch how he sits on the back foot. Compact motion over the top, and, you know, it's always a beautiful spiral.
Well, look how close it came to Talib making that catch.
Inside routes would really do, well, they would scare me if I was the opposing quarterback against Aqib Talib.
Here's the blitz. Roethlisberger pass wide of the mark for Bryant. You were talking about the throws and how much he's impressed you today. And you used the word tough. People always use that word when talking about Ben.
Overused.
So, but when we asked him this week, where do you get your toughness from? He said, you know, I'd have to say my grandmother. My grandmother. You know, I'm kind of was raised a country boy, suck it up kind of a guy. And his grandmother, Audrey Roethlisberger, says she's the one.
She's passing it down the line, and he is tough, and he has no fear in the pocket, as we would call, or as my old coach would say, no cabin fever. Doesn't get worried and nervous when people are around him.
Number 77 offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
I think that's just part of being a quarterback here in Pittsburgh, isn't it? You got to be a tough guy. You know, the weather, the history of the football team. Of course, you think about Terry Bradshaw, Bobby Lane, and just, of course, just the city. They demand it from their quarterback.
2nd and 15. Nice snag by Brown. Boy, he just took it off the shoelaces. Picks up another first. So they were in a pickle back inside the 5, but they're moving again. Pick up a 20.
Yeah, looked like Roethlisberger got hit before he threw this football because it barely gets there, and they are using these one-on-ones on the outside, taking advantage of them and making plays. And that was Todd Haley said, can we win enough of those one-on-one battles as the game is going on? They're winning more and more of them.
Hayward Bay comes in as an added receiver. And tackled down by Shane Ray. Antonio Brown with 10 catches, 116 yards. Consecutive seasons with 1,500 yards. Well, he's just accomplished back-to-back on that last 20-yard connection a couple of plays ago. That's all time. Look at that distinguished company.
Well, he deserves to be in it. Hard worker, knows all the positions on the field.
2nd and 10. And Brown. Now, you know this guy, he's had all these 100-catch seasons, 3 in a row. But you thought maybe wouldn't post these eye-popping numbers against this defense.
Well, you know what? The routes that we talked about early in the game, these quick routes outside, just like that one, the last couple we have seen, that's what he's good at. And the timing by the quarterback and him right now is perfect.
3rd and 5. Go back to what Richard Sherman told us when getting ready for the Seattle game. He says, I look at all the film and all these DBs give him too much space at the line of scrimmage. They're going back to him and it's incomplete.
Good coverage, good point. Richard Sherman was right. But what they're finding out, this Denver defense, good coverage on the outside. And really kind of just a hope throw by Ben Roethlisberger. Number 84 knows he's covered. Chris Harris read the route. He broke it off, but they can't get to completion.
Norwood with the low punt, backs it off. Back short punt too. And then it's picked up by Norwood. He played possum. And look at him go. Weaving to the outside. He's got a chance to take it. Norwood all the way to the end zone with a flag down at the other end of the field. We'll check the marker. Jordan Norwood. That ball was bouncing around at about the 29-yard line. The Broncos were just watching it. He went over and picked it up and took off. The penalty marker is not anywhere close to where the action was. It's on the far side of the field.
After the kick was picked up by the return team, the return team came off the bench and onto the field. That's illegal substitution. That foul will be enforced from where they came on the field. First down.
So the Broncos on the sideline had given up on the play as well.
Thought the play was over. They came out onto the field before the whistle blew.
So watch the Bronco sideline at the top.
Here they are. You can see right there to the top. Look at all the people on the field. You know,
Tell you what, that might have been called back anyway because the defender there, Shamarko Thomas, was touching the football and he had a foot out of bounds. Did you see that?
I did.
Boy, this is something you don't see very often. Mike Carey's back in New York. Let's bring in our officiating expert. How about that, Mike?
Yeah, so a lot of things to think about here. First of all, there's no risk for the return player to pick up the ball once it's been illegally touched. But if he is touching the ball while he is out of bounds or has not reestablished, the ball is dead at that spot.
Very good, Mike. That's right. You know, you got to always know that on the punt team, when you go down there and you touch it, that it's a freebie for the return team to pick it up and go, and they don't have to worry about fumbling the football, losing possession. But you saw it, Jim.
Watch 29 here. Watch when he touches it and watch his left foot.
He's out of bounds with contact on the football.
So before people walk away in disbelief that a return touchdown was taken away because the Bronco bench had already left the field, this would have been seen in the review anyway.
It would. There you go. You can see the left foot is out, hand still on the football. Well, what a different half for the Steelers defense. Challenging the receivers in winning so far.
Second and 12, ball batted in the air, incomplete. Tipped by Moats.
And even as I look down on the field from up here in the booth, you can tell they're more urgent, closer to the line of scrimmage, and just refusing to give up the easy throws.
This is the fourth possession of the quarter for Denver. They punted the first 3 times. They managed 46 yards in this quarter after 295 in the first half. 3rd and 12, and they've got Osweiler inside the 20. Hayward along with Jarvis Jones. And now they're jawing. This sack ends the 3rd quarter. 27-20, Denver going to the 4th. You're watching the NFL on CBS. We're back to start the 4th quarter. The Broncos about to punt the football for the 4th time in this half. 4 consecutive possessions after having 4 consecutive touchdown drives in the first half. Remember, it's a 7-point margin, and that includes Denver having missed a PAT. Otherwise, it could have been 8. And Brown steps out of bounds just outside the 40. Let's take a look at the upcoming games tonight. Sunday Night Football, NBC. Cardinals and Eagles. ESPN tomorrow, the Lions and the Saints. And Thursday night, NFL Network will be there in Oakland for the Chargers and the Raiders. We were in Dallas last night, here today. We'll have our 3rd game in 6 days, coming up on Christmas Eve. I hope you guys will be with us.
Yeah, that'll be good. Looking forward to Christmas Eve game out in the Oakland Coliseum. I'll tell you, what a second half we're having here, though. The pressure that is on this Denver defense, which we've seen quite a few times over the last few weeks, asked to hold up once again against, right now, the best passing offense in the NFL. A lot of plays for this Denver defense here in the second half.
Wide open. Brown for another 12.
And Wade Phillips said, you know, let me give my guys a break. So he backs off, plays the zone. And I said this earlier, zone coverage against a good passing attack and a better quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger, he will chew that up.
12 receptions for Brown in the game for 132. Back off the blitz. Roethlisberger across the middle. And again, he slips out of a tackle and high steps it out of bounds near the 30. It was Roby who he broke away from. He's got another 17 on that one.
This is what's tough. We talk about it, what you guard against when you're playing man coverage. Crossing the field. Hardest route to cover by these defensive backs.
Look at that stiff arm.
Yeah, it's pretty good stiff arm by not one of the bigger wide receivers in the NFL.
He had a 17-catch game against Oakland here earlier in the season. He might be up in that territory. He's got 13 already. This one goes to Wheaton, and the Steelers pick up first downs on 3 consecutive pass plays. And now they're starting to pick on Roby a little bit. They beat him here for 13.
Yep, they got him inside. That's the tough spot to play. Usually they like Chris Harris inside and Roby
95
out.
defense. That 15 yards will be added half the distance from the goal to the end of the play. Automatic first down.
So you got to give a lot of credit to this offensive line.
It's a roughing the passer call here against Malik Jackson.
Oof. He did hit the face mask of Roethlisberger, but I've never seen Roethlisberger go down so easy. So good job of acting, but the blow to the face mask, that's enough to get a penalty.
9 yards away, plus an extra point from tying at Roethlisberger. And that's only for a yard. Wheaton for 1.
Just again, you know what happens? Even though Denver has a great pass rush, you just get tired. And they've been out on the field. They're not getting consistent pressure on Roethlisberger. And the fact that he gets rid of the football so fast makes it tough if you're Wade Phillips over there calling the defensive play.
Roethlisberger on this drive has gone over 300 for the game. Second and goal. For Pittsburgh. And again, it was Roby who tried to defend, but Wheaton stayed with it. 9-yard touchdown, an extra point on the way that would tie it.
We're seeing this a lot. The quick throws on the money, the catches in the slot, but the strength grabs it. Wheaton, big receiver, hard to bring him down.
And Boswell. 27-27 in the fourth. All Steelers in the second half. They've come back from 17 down to tie it. Terrible towels out in full force as the Steelers shifted momentum coming out of the locker room at halftime. Roethlisberger again feeding that talented trio that's the best in the league, the most receiving yards of any trio in the league.
Well, it used to be the terrible towels came out for the run game and the great defense.
Yep.
And now it's for that trio, the quarterback. And how about this offensive line, what they've done here in the second half? Well, you know the Steelers are going to throw it. Denver still can't get constant pressure on Roethlisberger.
The receiving yards for the 3 added up to 288 so far in this game. Norwood takes the knee. And just looking at the AFC playoff picture, Kansas City and the Jets were enjoying the first half here. But now the Steelers are cooking, and they've tied this game so far today. As far as the long-range look at the playoffs, the Buffalo Bills, with their loss at Washington, they were eliminated officially. On the NFC side, Chicago, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, and New Orleans have all been eliminated today. That is not a pass. Backwards pass. And look at the Steelers swarm to C.J. Anderson. Well, that's Hillman, actually, and a flag is down.
Prior to the pass, holding, number 48 defense, 5-yard penalty automatic, first down.
But Dupree's infraction gives the Broncos a first down. Hey, reminder, the Sun Bowl next Saturday on CBS. Miami and Washington State. That long-time relationship continues. The Sun Bowl and CBS from El Paso. First down. And that's Vernon Davis with his first catch of the game. Goes for 5. How does this team rekindle what they were doing in the first half, talking about the Broncos offense?
Yeah, listen, it's not easy. Gary Kubiak, what you do in a situation like this, you'd like to show the defense something they haven't seen already. In other words, get them thinking instead of just letting them fly around. But the biggest thing of all, looks like they're going to have to do it with the pass. And they got to protect Brock Osweiler.
Takes it from under center on 2nd and 5, and incomplete, and Thomas is pointing around, and no one's listening.
Well, the thought was good. The execution was not. Brock Osweiler trying to throw it behind Demaryius Thomas. You know what really hurts in a situation like this? They rely on moving the quarterback so much, but they have not done that today because you can't do it against the outside linebackers of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Can they convert for the first time in the half on 3rd down? They need 5. It's intercepted. No! Golden had it for a moment. Stepped right in front of Caldwell. Incomplete.
It was an excellent read by Brock Osweiler. The double coverage underneath. But you said it, Robert Golden read it, cut underneath, just couldn't make the catch.
Golden had his first career interception just last week down in Cincinnati.
Now the Broncos cannot get away from the Steelers' defense. What a change.
Colquitt didn't catch that one. And Barrett downs it. Good starting point coming up for Pittsburgh. Only a 33-yard punt. Roethlisberger with 2 touchdown passes in the second half. And the game is tied at 27. During the timeout, Osweiler got a little tip for 2 from Peyton. As the Broncos have not produced any points here in the second half. Over to Bryant. And they swing him down. That's Bruton. Holds him to 1.
Isn't it amazing? First half, Denver couldn't be stopped. Pittsburgh couldn't cover anything. Guys were wide open. And we have seen the exact opposite here in the second half.
It's amazing what happens in the league these days. It's such a passing league. You can overcome these huge deficits. And they were down 17. The Giants were down 28 today, and they were able to pull even with Carolina before losing on a late field goal. Roethlisberger just throws that away. There is a flag down.
Holding, number 72 offense, 10-yard penalty, second down.
That's the center, Cody Wallace. You know, Jim, it comes down to this. It's the quarterbacks are better than ever. We got so many good wide receivers in the variety of plays that are thrown at these defenses in the NFL now. That's why you see some of these incredible numbers. You see big comebacks, and we see it so much you can't be surprised.
2nd and 19. Ten and a half minutes to play. Gave him the protection again. Swinging over to D'Angelo Williams. And 2 Broncos are there to meet him at the 35. I went down on the field. I saw Peyton during warm-ups. He said, "What's going on in some of the games right now?" He said, "How's my brother and how the Giants doing?" I said, "They're getting killed."
Oh,
35.
really?
I said it's 35-7.
Oh.
I said, "Oh, I didn't even provide any. I didn't give him any details." I said, "Cam's having a huge game." About 30 minutes later, it's 35-35. Third and 12, and here they come. Roethlisberger able to break free from where? Sight off it, it's caught. But this is going to be, even with the forward progress, it's got to be short of the first. And Dak's going to be short by a couple, maybe 3. Brown with the catch. This is what he's done his whole career. So hard to bring down, even when DeMarcus Ware is one of them chasing after you.
Well, he's a big man. We know that. And he's one of those guys that keeps a wide base. So when you do grab him, he's able just to shake it off, keeps his feet wide apart, so he has more power and breaks, many arm tackles every game, every year.
There's Barry. Somehow this one is going to get a favorable roll. Not a lot of style points on that 40-yard punt, but the Broncos will start inside the 20. Second half for the Broncos, only 3 first downs and 5 punts. The series begins at the 16. 9 minutes to go. And that ball's on the ground, but Osweiler, as he did early in the game, had a couple of mishandles. This one too slipped away, but he recovers it, loss of 4.
Well, goes straight down. Looks like it came up just short, but again, I think it's when it, like I said, I did it a lot myself. When that football falls down, they're going to blame the quarterback. Stay in there, get both hands on it before you move.
2nd and 13. Daniels to the 20. Peyton Manning returned to practice this week. Practiced a couple of days. Foot was sore, so he sat out Friday. What do you think is going to happen the rest of the way? This story that gets played out on a daily basis.
Every day. Here's what's going to happen. When Peyton Manning is fully healthy and practices and shows he's ready to come back and be the starting quarterback, then you evaluate where everything is at with Brock Osweiler, the football team, how you're doing, and you make a decision. But my opinion is when he gets completely healthy and he practices and shows that he can get that rhythm back and be the quarterback that we think, that they'll put him back in the lineup.
3rd and 6. Osweiler slides to his left, gets it to Hillman, who falls near the first. In fact, they're going to give him the first down. It was a good effort by Osweiler to slide away from contact, and then Hillman to battle for the first down yardage. Got a flag. Got a flag.
10-yard penalty, half the distance to the goal, 3rd down.
There's a holding call against Denver.
Yeah, the umpire that time, you didn't see the flag because he couldn't find his.
Couldn't find his flag, so he threw his hat down on the field. So the football rests at the 10, mid-4th, 3rd and 16.
This is where Denver struggles. It's obvious passing situations.
Dropped. Vernon Davis had a huge drop last week. That would have been a first down. And he dropped this one. The pass was perfect.
And I was going to say, protecting the quarterback. It's a zone. Vernon Davis goes through. He sees the safety coming up. And I think that's why he drops the football. Yeah, he's looking ahead. He sees Mike Mitchell. And you're right, it would have been a first down. Game changer.
Unbelievable.
Game changer, that play. Field position. Time.
Colquitt gets the fair catch on the other end from Antonio Brown. 46-yard punt. Again, Carolina down 14-0. Outlasting the Giants. What a thrilling fourth quarter that was as the Giants put together a furious rally. And finally, the Texans win in Indianapolis. Brandon Whedon came in at quarterback and led them to victory. Yes, he did. Kansas City, meanwhile, dominated the Ravens. So look at the latest AFC playoff picture. The Texans get to 7-7 on the season. They've had to go to 4 different quarterbacks on the year, but they move in front of the Colts now with that victory with 2 weeks to go. 1st and 10. Heath Miller, a couple. Brought down right away by Jeb. I knew I was going to say that. By Josh Bush. Okay. Oh, my goodness. NFC playoff picture. And I mentioned it earlier, Phil. 4 teams eliminated today. Chicago, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, and New Orleans in the NFC side. As you take a look at that in Green Bay. Qualified earlier today by virtue of the Giants' loss. 2nd and 8. Off the tackle by Josh Bush. And Roethlisberger swings it over. Williams. Back-to-back plays. This Denver defense pouncing after the catch for very little yardage for the Steelers. Thursday night, San Diego and Oakland. That's on Christmas Eve. And a special Saturday edition of Thursday Night Football. Redskins, Eagles coming your way. NFL Network only. Roethlisberger, 10 out of 10 passing in this quarter. Oh, it looked like Wolf had jumped. He was offsides. Brown is left alone anyway for the catch.
Did they blow the play dead?
Neutral zone infraction, defense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Yeah, Wolf was across the line.
Well, saw Derek Wolf. Boy, the Broncos all complaining that somebody on the line moved. I did not see it, but when he was in the neutral zone, the wide receiver did move. But that was when Derek Wolf was in the neutral zone. That's why he moved.
So it's a 3rd and 2 now off the 5 yards.
Changes everything. Bunch formation. Try to give somebody a little shield as they get down and go down the field.
Roethlisberger. Players all over him, incomplete. So the Denver defense is able to make some plays. Miller was the target. Bruton on the coverage.
Bruton on good coverage against Heath Miller. And boy, we talked about Roethlisberger. Can he stand in the pocket? Never once looked at anything but the receivers. Watch 83 in the middle of your screen. Trying to do a move, and David Bruton. And cover tight ends. I saw him do a good job against Antonio Gates. Good job here today against Heath Miller.
KO is the returner. He runs away from it. And it's out of bounds at about the 12. 5.5 remaining. Back the football goes to the Broncos. Back in Pittsburgh. What a game. 27-27. The Broncos virtually unstoppable in the first half. Have managed only 50 offensive yards in the second half. They're coming out throwing. And they've got a completion to Norwood. Somersault tackle by Gay. And that gets him a little breathing room. Gain of 13.
Good job. The initial coverage is good. And Brock Osweiler, you know, all the experience he's gaining now, sees a little running lane, move to throw the football. And Pittsburgh has changed the way they play defense here in the second half. They're playing tighter. So you can keep the tight end and running back in there, giving some extra protection if you want to throw it down the field.
Butts heads with Will Allen. We'll give him 3. And for those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, the Broncos and the Steelers in a tie game. Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast. Just moved a yard ahead of their penalty yards in this half. 2nd and 7. The play action coming after him. Breaks the tackle, fires it. It is picked off by Shazier. Didn't have a whole lot on that pass with all that pressure. The likes of Tuitt and Dupree.
Bud Dupree on the outside. Tuitt chases him. Dupree's all over him as he makes the throw. And you said it, under pressure, can't get the speed on the football that he wants. And of course, when you're under pressure, Jim, harder to make the right decision down the field.
Mike Tomlin playing to the cameras. From the 37 of the Broncos. Quick pass. They keep breaking that first tackle, don't they? Gain of 9. He got away from Talib. The first contact, and he's limping. Regional action next Sunday, including the Patriots and the Jets. All beginning with JB and the crew in the NFL today at 12 noon Eastern on CBS.
This game looks just like last week's game against the Oakland Raiders. They dominated in the first half. The Denver Broncos did, really on both sides of the ball. And couldn't do it in the second half.
That's Williams picking up the first down. Well, they got shut out last week in the second half. They've been blanked here in this half, talking about Denver. They've been outscored 29-0 over the course of the last 2 games in the second half.
Just too much pressure on the defense. The defense, this has not been a bad second half by the Denver defense, but it seems like all we've been watching is Steeler offense, Denver defense here in the second half, and Ben Roethlisberger, Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, now playing the down and distance and the clock and the time of the game. Well done.
First down with 3.5 to go. Fires it. Touchdown. Again, it's Brown. Antonio Brown having another monster performance. 23-yard touchdown.
These receivers, they know all you got to do is give our quarterback just a little window. Watch him just sit back in his back foot, and he just rips it. And Antonio Brown gets inside. There's a safety in the middle, but when you're throwing the ball like this Ben Roethlisberger is, not much you can do on the defensive side.
And Chris Harris, one of the absolute best in the
Yes.
league. He's been turned around like he hasn't seen. I don't know if he ever has in his career. Had a day quite like this.
Well,
beaten for a second time for a touchdown.
Antonio Brown on the outside is just going to run a skinny route here. Here's the safety, never gets over there. So watch, even though he releases inside, Ben Roethlisberger just sets, watch the quarterback now, just let it go. And the window is tight. Made it look easy, didn't he?
Antonio makes a lot of things look easy.
Well, I'm talking about him and the quarterback.
And Roethlisberger, but Brown He puts up these catch games like this, 15 receptions now. He had that 17 catch game against Oakland.
That's what I've been watching and seeing for many weeks from Ben Roethlisberger. Just one good throw after another. And of course, Jim, you and I have talked about this. This Steeler offense, the talent, it's there, but the scheme is outstanding also. So when you put those two things together in the NFL, you usually get greatness. And that's what we watch, or watch it again, when you talk about the Steelers offense.
Norwood. It's a reverse to Latimer. Cody Latimer is going to set him up at about the 40. You think this injury late in the second quarter on the left shoulder has impacted the way Osweiler and this Bronco offense in the second half?
No, I do not. I do not. I don't see any hesitation in his throws. We've never seen him move that arm like it's bothered him. What's really bothered him is his Steeler coverage in the pass rush.
There's a pass that they'd like to have back. It was behind an open Owen Daniels. Yeah, he had that really good throw to Vernon Davis. It would have been a first down and a huge gain earlier in this quarter. Didn't look like he was hurting there.
Nope. He put it right on the money. That time he had the receiver. He looked the defense off. The football just not on target.
And Emmanuel Sanders, who was on a feeding frenzy in the first half, has had that one catch in the third quarter for about 26 yards. That's it. 2nd and 10. Anderson shoved out by Will Allen. About 3 minutes to go and third down coming up. All timeouts on the board for both teams.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. Just thinking ahead, I think if Gary Kubiak, if they don't get this here, I think they would punt the football and use their timeouts, a 2-minute warning to get one more chance.
Cameron Hayward shaken up. The Steeler fine defensive lineman. He's going to be helped to the sideline.
Well, they've had some big plays where the football's been dropped in the last couple weeks by the Broncos. That catch could have given them a chance to tie the game. That would have changed field position and momentum of this game if Vernon Davis, new to the football team, they traded for him. It's never an easy adjustment when you change football teams. I don't care what position it is.
Acquired in a trade from the 49ers on November the 2nd.
You know, Jim, as I sit here and think again, 3rd and 4, 3 minutes to go, and you need a touchdown to tie this game.
You're thinking now 4-down territory.
I'm definitely hedging on my first instinct.
Well,
the Steeler offense is just doing so well and so hot.
That's it. They haven't been able to stop them.
So Gary Kubiak has to be thinking that same way here.
Need to get to the 50 for the first. Haven't been in Pittsburgh territory this entire half. Need to now. Osweiler to the sideline, and it's Sanders with the catch.
What a throw. Good throw, stepped up, and that's what the defense was going to make him do. If he wanted to complete it, he was going to have to throw it outside. Found the one-on-one. Boy, look at these routes by Emmanuel Sanders.
Putting all kinds of moves on Russ Cockrell. He's got 181 yards receiving. That's the exact total. Antonio Brown has 181. First down from the 41. Another drop. Demaryius Thomas.
Now, tough catch. I don't know if I would throw it into the drop category.
You want to reconsider?
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I got more information, so I changed my opinion.
Yeah, that's right. A little visual evidence.
Yeah, that'll turn you.
Thomas has one catch this half. Should have had a second. 2nd and 10. Osweiler steps around the contact and slides for 5. And that have got another 3rd and 5 on the way.
Well, there's no question now they're in 4-down territory. They're thinking that way. And I'm sure Gary Kubiak is relaying that message to Brock Osweiler. Knowing the situation, don't take a sack. You have 2 downs to pick up these 5 yards.
With 2:20 to play. Timeout Steelers. This second half. Putting it into highlight form. To Brown, to Wheaton. Then the interception. And then another one back to Antonio Brown.
Man, I'll tell you, that's about as excited as I've seen Ben Roethlisberger after a touchdown throw, because he knew, you know, sometimes you know as a quarterback it's a special throw. That throw to Antonio Brown was pretty sweet.
24 unanswered points by the Steelers, going back to the field goal at the end of the first half. Now 3rd and 5. Tough pass, incomplete. Thrown in the direction of Demaryius Thomas.
Coverage was great by Cockrell. They are glued together. 88 going across the field.
There's nothing there.
Nothing there.
Here we go, 4th down. Thomas and Sanders to the near side. Pass incomplete. That was going to be tough to pick up the first down had he even caught it. Our linebacker was waiting for Anderson. Remember, Denver still has 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning.
That's right. Throw was on target, and even if it's on target, I do not think it's going to pick up the first down.
Yeah, Shazier would have been there probably to stop him a yard or 2 short.
Now the Steelers know 1 first down would be enough to probably win the game.
Well, with those 3 timeouts, it would depend on when they pick up that first down.
That's right.
And
not if they pick it up on first down, I understand. They're going to let it go to the 2-minute warning and then use the 3 timeouts after this play.
Williams. And stopped for no gain, maybe 1. Now they're going to take the timeout now at 2:08, their first.
Saves 8 seconds. But one way to do it, Gary Kubiak says, let me save every second I can and let my offense then delegate what it has to do to move the football if they get it back.
Second and 9. Or they're going to throw it here. They're coming in on him. And it is intercepted. The Broncos defense has the football. And Ben can't believe he did it. Brandon Marshall Marshall with the pick.
Tried to catch him by surprise. The coverage, they wanted to go deep down the field. The coverage was there. Roethlisberger, when I saw him move, I said he'll just fall down. Right before the 2-minute warning, and then
were you surprised they decided to throw in the first place?
well, they were trying to win the game. Yeah, I was surprised just because the way the Broncos offense has had so much trouble moving the ball and everything. It had been a long field if you just run the football and punt it. But that was as big as it gets.
And how many times
about mistakes
have we seen this year? It was 1 second north of the 2-minute warning. So it allows the Broncos to have an extra play before the clock stoppage.
Well, the Broncos still have 2 timeouts. 2-minute warning. You see he's looking down the field. The coverage, nope, it's not. It's there.
They're still waiting upstairs to make sure that Marshall made that catch inbounds. So they're going to look at it.
Possession of the football.
Just pinned it against his left shoulder pad. Don't really see anything there that you would overturn. He rolls over and he still has the ball pinned in the same position. So you got to figure this is going to hold up. There's a takeaway by Brandon Marshall. He knows it. A sudden little plot twist here, my friend.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, it's a mistake. We're talking about Ben Roethlisberger really playing almost a perfect game out here today, making so many incredible throws. That decision is as bad as probably the baddest decision he's made all year long.
All right, Carl Cheppers is ready to rule.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Denver.
Ben just shakes his head. Ready to put this game away. "41-yard line of the Steelers. 2:01 remaining. Shotgun time for the Broncos. Tough throw, and it's incomplete. 2 Steelers, Cockrell and Shazier, were there to help break it apart. So we've reached the 2-minute warning. What suspense awaits us on the other side? Second and 10 coming out of the 2-minute break. Osweiler. He is. Oh, that would have been a game ender in all likelihood. Will Allen could not hold on.
Yeah, that was a bad decision by Brock Osweiler. It's a zone coverage. Look at him dropping back. The safety reads him the whole way, and they were going to make him. Time is there. He can throw the football underneath. You don't have to look down the field for a guy to throw to.
Third down and 10. Osweiler goes deep, no one there. The receiver was on the ground, Sanders. And Osweiler thought it had something to do with contact.
Looks like it could have been incidental tripping, not sure. Bottom of your screen. Yep, they step on each other's feet. But the second half, the Bronco receivers overall, they just have not beaten coverage by the Steelers. The Steelers have challenged them, and they have won here in the second half.
That much maligned secondary has come up big in this second half, and they need to make one more play. 4th and 10. Osweiler down the field, tipped, and incomplete. was going to Sanders. William Gay was there to deny. And just after the Broncos are given a gift on the interception, they squander it in 4 downs.
They did. Looks like there could have been a window here to throw it in. Coverage was tight once again. William Gay all over Sanders. Number 10 coming across. Just throws high. Yeah, boy, he took a deep breath there, and I understand why, but
142 timeouts for the Broncos. Williams, who's been held in check today. That's 13 carries for 22 yards. And the timeout right away. That play took 5 seconds.
you know, you go back to that interception, Jim, and everybody's going to go, why do you throw it? Well, I'll tell you why they threw it. Because they have a top flight, big time NFL quarterback, and they trusted him to make the right decision. So if you can't do it with Ben Roethlisberger, who are you going to do it with? He made a huge mistake, but the Steeler defense, like it's done this whole second half, came up with some more good plays.
And the second half saga storyline for the Broncos continues another week. It appears 2nd and 9. Unless something really unexpected happens here. Another quick timeout. Another 5 seconds off the clock, and Denver can't stop it again. If the Broncos lose here, Phil, a couple of things get set off in motion here. New England clinches a bye into the divisional round. Kansas City would be within a game of Denver out west. Pittsburgh with a win, again assuming go on to close this out, well, they would move into the 6th spot, right, ahead of the Jets based on common opponent tiebreaker.
Well, you know, the big thing is to look to who is Denver playing these last couple games of the year. Next week
they host Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bengals,
which by the way clinched a playoff berth today with its win out at San Francisco.
I mean, no games are given, so you look at the schedule, but it puts Denver in a worrisome situation if they do lose here, mainly because the offense, the failures in the second half.
They blitz 3rd and 6. Brown closes it out with the catch. His 16th of the game.
There's a blitz. How about this outside throw? This is the staple of this Pittsburgh offense. It's probably the first play they put in every year. It started with Bill Cowher when he became the head coach here in the Steelers, and every coordinator has done the same thing. Those outcuts, not many teams in the league can make those throws. The Steelers are great at it.
Number 94 reports as eligible. Number 94.
Victory formation time for the Steelers to close this out. Roethlisberger with that pass tied his career high with 40 completions in a game. Throws for 380 and 3 touchdowns. The Broncos are shut out in the second half for the 3rd straight week. You wouldn't have guessed after you saw 4 precision drives down the field for touchdowns in a row.
And they made it look easy. Yep. Everything was sharp. Pass protection, open receivers, and we saw none of that in the second half.
Great comeback by the Steelers today. Down 27-10. They come back to win it 34-27. So there is a look at it. And the AFC. The Steelers, everybody said coming in, they're the hot team. And there'll be more talk about that heading into Week 16 off of this performance. That's 10 straight December wins, by the way, for the franchise.
They got to be excited. They're excited about their offense, Jim, but their defense showed some hope there in the second half. They got to carry that on for the rest of the year.
34-27, Pittsburgh victory. Alternate lineup tonight, 60 minutes. Undercover boss CSI Cypher. For Phil Tracy, this is Jim Nance saying so long from Pittsburgh. By all means, have a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50.